Boulevard with all the lights and all the different colors, getting ready to go into the bar and see those dancing.
Did we switch? Okay, and when we're at the bar, we're totally doing shots, getting drunk, and then we head over to New York, and we jump on the roller coaster, and we just start getting sick, and we just start puking all over the place.
But in fact, what was happening is Jay didn't realize I don't drink, so every time I got a shot, I put in an E-shot, and I was getting jacked while he was getting all messed up on Jack Daniels.
Which...
And then after we started puking everywhere on this roller coaster, we got off this thing and we went back to the bar and started doing more shots of Jack Daniels.
Switch.
But again, what ended up happening with the waitress, or the barmaid as she liked to be called, is I ended up talking to her about Isogenics and Jim and Kathy Coover, and she's now one of my consultants.
Switch.
And I got to talk to her after Tony was talking to her, and she was moving to Arizona, and I showed her a home, and she totally bought a house for me up in Scottsdale.
Switch.
Now, the best part about that is Jay is such a good real estate guy. He gives every new client the first 6 months complimentary, except for a few that I know. That's part of his business plan.
Bring it home, Jay. 15 seconds. End it.
So then once I give you 6 months, I go straight down to the bankruptcy court, and I file for bankruptcy because I have no money at all. I treat this like a hobby.
And I realize that's maybe not the best business plan. How did you, whoa, am I on a delay?
Yeah.
All right, what'd you guys think? Much better, huh?
Yes.
Second time around. Tony, Jay, what did you think of the communication?
You know, I thought it was a little bit better. I didn't really, like I said, I didn't realize the beginning was to try to trailer off what people were saying or do the assist like you were talking about, and it made more sense, obviously. And I'm like Lacey, once you go first, you know, you look the worst. So I got that.
Froze again. Come on back.
That is this. Jay had mentioned about us puking, and then I went, and then he started backing on the puking, and it was like, so that kind of like, okay, now I really started brainstorming on, I got to get out of the puking.
So that's cool.
He had me back at the bar again. I'm like, I already did the bar.
I was thinking Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas with Johnny Depp, that kind of scene. I thought we were going to get into some stuff there. Oh, come on, Internet.
Anymore.
Okay, there we go. All right, so much better. I thought that was great. Good job, guys. All right, so Jeremy and Allie, you ready to go again?
Yep.
All right, get in each other's heads. 7 years ago.
7 years ago, Jeremy was born. He is a lot older than me, and that long ago, his mom nickname, and it stuck around for a long time. And
this nickname was Boomer. And the reason why they called me Boomer is because when I was literally like coming out of the womb, like whatever it looks like, Boomer Sison was.
Come on, Internet.
Touchdown pass, 80-yard pass.
End zone. And so when I was born, they said Boomer because the touchdown happened. So I've always been called Boomer. However, that nickname has come to bite me in the butt because
Switch.
When I was in high school.
When I was in high school, I was on the baseball team. So everybody always called me Little Boo Boo. And I was like, what the heck is Little Boo Boo? My name is Boomer, not Boo Boo. So anyways, you see where I'm going with this. So I was number 2. I played shortstop. So every time
I make a throw to first base, they would say, "Way to go, Boo Boo," or if I made a mistake, they would go off of that as well. So how I try to get out of this nickname,
Switch.
I get people to start calling me
Beast mode, because I think I'm beast. So anyways, when I play shortstop, I make a good play, I would just go like this, and people would start laughing because I'm beast. So anyways, we were in the World Series, Game 7. It was tie ball game, 3-3, top of the 9th inning.
Bring it home, Allie.
I'm coming up to bat. Sorry. I'm coming up to bat. The pitcher throws a fastball. I hit the ball, and it's soaring over left field. Home run, win the game, ball game. That's it.
Awesome. Okay.
You don't hit. That's why I was confused. Because
I thought you were going to say they called him Boo Boo when he made a Boo Boo. I'm like, no, I thought it was good. Look, Boomer, look, your energy was there. You guys definitely were more coherent in the second story than you were in the first one. You listened to each other. You worked with it. It had more flow. That's what you'll notice even from Jay and Tony in your stories. They're definitely the difference in flow from the first one to the second one is there because now you guys know what you're doing. You're more intent on listening, and you're more intent on helping the others. Now, when Kendra and Natalie go next, I want you guys to be unselfish. Part of this exercise is whether you're talking to your significant other or you're on stage with somebody presenting, is to be unselfish and think more about how you're going to set them up than really your own self, and really listen to key words and try and have one thought. The other part is don't feel like you're in such a rush. Remember when you're talking to people, when you slow down, when you think, when you take your time, it's better to have a fewer amount of words that really impact people than to rush it. So if somebody leaves you with something, you don't know where to go, you don't want to take too long, but don't feel the need to rush and spit something out of your mouth that doesn't make sense. Think about it for a second and then go with it and see if that makes a difference. Okay? I'm going to give you guys one time at band camp. Kendra, you're going to start it. One time at band camp. Go.
This one time at band camp, when all of us were sleeping, I actually had somebody stick a chocolate in. Oh my God, I suck at this.
Hold on, let's start over. Let's start that one over because I thought you were going to go with the flute there, and I was like, I said PG-13. This is the actual movie.
That's what I had in my mind. I got screwed up.
I'm like, if she says flute right now, I got to cut you off.
When you say that, that's all I can think of is that movie.
I love how flute turned into chocolate.
Yeah.
That's Kendra's keyword.
If she would have said a chocolate flute, I would have been like, yes. All right.
Oh my God.
All right, here we go. Now, think PG-13. This one time at band camp. Go.
All right. This one time at band camp, I met this really, really, really ridiculously good-looking boy. And he was a little, come to find out, he was a little bit strange the more that I got to know him.
Which?
And I'm not really sure why, but...
I'm not really sure why, but I came to find out that he picked his nose. Totally weird. And even though he was really good looking, like nobody can get over that. And shit. Switch.
Not only could I not get over that, but he had this like walk, this like weird little like walk that with a little twitch that he would do. And it was honestly the strangest thing ever.
And so with the booger thing and the walking with the twitch thing, I decided to leave him behind. And I went to find the hot guy. The guy with all the muscles, which was really interesting that there was a guy with lots of muscles hanging out at band camp, but he played the tuba.
And normally guys that play the tuba don't have big muscles. So I definitely found that a little strange. So I'm like, okay, something has to be really off about this guy. And then come to find out that he's a little slow up here.
So he's a little slow upstairs, but he was still really cute and he had big muscles and he played the tuba like nobody's business. He was first chair tuba, and that was what was important, that and the muscles. And as long as he didn't talk back.
Bring it home, Kendra. Bring it home.
And as long as he talked back, it didn't matter because it's all about the looks, right? Because nothing else matters. The brains, nothing else. I mean, who cares about that? As long as I have something pleasant to look at, score.
Awesome. I thought that was great. Let me get some thoughts out because I didn't write them down. First of all, crap, and I froze. This is the worst. Connection unstable. Bring it back.
Chocolate.
So, Kendra, the way you started out with he was really ridiculously good looking. So you have the Zoolander reference. Again, anytime now you take a risk by doing that because think about your audience. How many people have seen Zoolander? First of all, show of hands.
Say again?
Zoolander. How many people have seen Zoolander, the movie?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the people that have seen it, you got about half your audience love it, get it. Other people, even though they don't get it, it's still personality. There was another thing you did where later on you were like walking. It was like,
Yeah.
all those little intricacies of your stories, don't you guys agree, make it much more interesting? They make her story interesting because she's doing the action. So whether you're on a video with this or whether you're talking in front of somebody, you guys did a great job of giving each other verbal cues and letting go. I love the fact that, Natalie, you're such a natural too because without all the movement, just your voice and the little subtleties in your presentation, you still have a lot of stuff to get at there. You still have it's a lot of emotion. And the picking his nose was a great thing. This guy picked his nose. And then later on you're like, and he was third chair tuba. So again, little things like that, quick on your feet, make it funny. The first time Angelique and I saw Natalie train at one of our events, we were like, this girl's a natural, she didn't seem nervous or anything. And she put a lot of those little things. You used a lot of comedy. And there was a part where something didn't go right and her slide wasn't up. And Natalie just started like dancing back and forth like this. When some people would have totally panicked and froze and said, or again, what happens is your audience is going to feel for you. So she took a big risk. She's like, shit, I better start dancing. And the audience loved it. And it put everybody at ease. And they said, wow, this girl's got a great personality. If she would have freaked out and been pissed off, everyone would have been like, man, this girl's kind of like uptight, So those are some little things that I think that we can take away from this when you're talking that will help you be a better communicator. And I'm out again. Oh, no. I know.
There he is.
All right. I thank you for bearing with me. So let's, for the sake of getting through it. So Lacey and Jody.
Okay.
You guys have had a lot of feedback here. You see what everybody's doing?
Yes.
Don't put any pressure. Get your listening ears on.
Okay.
And let's talk about, I went to the park last Saturday.
Am I starting, Lacey?
Lacey, you start.
Oh, Lacey, you start.
Because Brenda went first last time.
Okay, it's fine. I went to the park last Saturday and I had a huge accident. I walked into the park and I peed my pants. I don't really know what happened. I don't know what's been going on lately. This has sort of been a pattern, but I didn't expect to happen in such a public place.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I didn't have black clothes on like I normally wear when I'm out at the park or exercising. And I was just like, oh my gosh, my clothes are all wet. What is wrong with me?
So I had to leave the park and I went home and I changed and then I decided to make a new plan for the day. So I got in my car and I went to Starbucks, and it just so happens that when I got my drink.
When I get a drink at Starbucks, I realized at that point that the caffeine and the kind of drink that I'm getting is what makes me have these accidents. And I'm standing there in Starbucks and all of a sudden.
Switch.
I pee my pants again. I don't know if I'm a little kid or I just can't control my bladder, but it's embarrassing. So I decided to go to the local Walmart to get some pull-ups.
And I walk in the back there, and when I go to the back, I see one of my really good friends, and she's like, why are you back by the pull-ups? Your kids are much older than this. They don't need pull-ups. Like,
Which,
I was going to try to hide it from her, but what the heck? I just had to tell her, because if this is going to be a continual problem for my life, people are going to hear the swishing of my pull-ups when I walk around. So they might as well know exactly what's going on with my bladder.
bring it home, Jody.
and so I just proceeded to tell her this story. I mean, when she looked at me like, you're not serious. And I was like, I really am serious. I guess I have a problem. I'm thinking I should probably call the doctor. These pull-ups are not going to be working for me much longer.
Okay. Wow. Good job. The swishing of the pull-ups. I think that was the quote I took away. The swishing sound as she walked was awesome.
She's a nanny.
A little bit of a different topic. I was waiting for somebody to say they just took off their pants and got naked and how they got home. They were in the pull-up section and they ran into like Brad Pitt. And they're like, what are you doing here? But all right. So second time around, how'd you feel?
Better.
More confident.
Yes.
Jody, with that topic, did it throw you off?
No.
No?
It's fine.
Okay. I was, one of those things. It's like, okay, we're peeing our pants now. So where do I go with this? But it's all good, right?
I'm used to kids peeing their pants. I teach 6-year-olds.
Exactly. All right. So we got Brenda and Sean. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go with last year at the Super Bowl.
Last year at the Super Bowl, I decided to do something I have never done before. And you see it all the time, when you see the YouTube videos of those guys that are just, their shirts are off, their faces are painted.
So with their face painted and their shirts off, I decide that I'm actually going to run down the stadium and into the ball field while they're playing this football game and actually take my pants off.
Switch.
And it was such a surreal feeling to be surrounded by hundreds of thousands of people, and I almost didn't know what to do. And then my fear just kicked in because I saw.
And I feared and I saw and I felt so free from being naked and running through the stadium. And before I knew it, I looked behind me and the police and security, they were starting to chase me in the middle of the team trying to play.
I think it was football.
Oh, yeah.
And fortunately, I saw the mascot, and I thought, awesome, I'm going to take this mascot down. I'm going to take his head. I'm going to wear it.
Switch.
I'm going to wear it all by myself, all on my head, all naked and strong and buff. I'm going to put on this mascot's head.
Switch.
Because at least this way, I will go down in history for being the naked dude that wore a mascot head in the middle of the football, or what is this, Super Bowl.
Bring it home, Brenda.
And it turns out that I didn't get arrested, but I did have to, spend a few nights doing community service at the football field, and that's it.
All right. All right. I was waiting for one of you to say, and I realized I was at a South Carolina football game. Those who know football get that one. All right. How did you guys feel the second time around?
Better.
Now, what about, in general, everybody, now about listening? Do you find yourselves when you're in your normal conversations listening? Who would consider themselves to be a better than average listener? Raise your hand if you're a better than average listener.
I think I am. Am I?
Look at Jeremy.
Yes.
Allie's looking at you. She's like, now who is a poorer than average listener? Anybody poorer than average? Okay. So those are things we want to work on. What about the fact of making things up? Are you guys ever in situations, whether it's at work, whether it's with friends, or whether it's in Isagenix, where you find yourself having to think quickly on your feet? What do you typically do in that situation?
I usually forget everything. My mind goes blank.
How do you overcome it? So overcoming those things, someone says something and you have no idea what they're talking about. Isagenix, I'm going to go to that because most of us are in that. Someone asks you about a particular program or what's in a particular thing and you have no idea. But you don't want to tell them necessarily that you don't know. What do you do?
So what I've found is usually there's an audience that I can engage, and by asking the audience a question, a lot of times they'll answer the question for me, and I can leverage that.
Okay. What other kinds of things do you use? Do you pause? How about you answer with a question? Yeah, so you don't know, you answer with a question. What about when we're communicating in terms of using comedy? Like, Kendra used a couple things from movies and stuff like that. A lot of times that works. Like when Natalie, we were talking about the dance or something like that, using your body. Sometimes that helps to overcome.
A lot of times, I really come from telling what my experience was with that product if they were talking about a certain product. But I'm not afraid to say, hey, I know a lot, but I don't know everything.
Okay.
But I am going to contact somebody to get that answer for you.
Okay. What about if this really happens a lot at big events and stuff like that. You're somewhere and you're talking to somebody and someone else is trying to get your attention. So when you're talking to somebody, you lose track of the conversation and you don't know where you're at. What do you do?
I usually, the person that I'm talking to, I continue to talk to, and I just tell the other person like this, right, kind of towards them. I'll just say 1 second.
Yeah. Because these are all little things in communication that really will help. One of the things that David Wood said is so many people come up to him and they're trying to talk to him at one time. He puts his arm around somebody and he really like looks at them and he goes, let's walk. So that's a way to really kind of give somebody your attention rather than try and give too many people different amounts of attention at the same time, because that never works. So sometimes when you're at home with your kids are one of those things too. I know some of you guys have kids, some of you don't, but your attention seems to go different ways. If you're trying to work on something, your kids are saying something, most of the time we say, okay, whatever you wanted. Yes, it's good, because we're not really listening. And then I realized with my girls, if I just took 10 seconds to listen to what she says, it would answer the problem a lot better than that. So that's why an exercise like this and listening in general, I think for me has been such a huge hurdle to overcome and being a better listener, because it really does help communications. They always say that the best communicators in the world are often the best listeners and not the best talkers. And if you guys have ever encountered somebody who's a really effective communicator, but they don't say a lot, and I always go back to somebody like John C. Maxwell, someone who is really kind of slower with their presentation, and they're not trying to fit in a lot of words. What happens is you hang on their words more often. So if you ever get into a situation where you find yourself where you don't know what to say or words aren't coming easy, then the best thing is to do is space your words out more, take your time more to think about them, because that way you're going to come off more intelligent and people will be hanging on your words. If you talk faster, most of the connotations with people who talk fast are what? What are connotations of people who talk fast?
BS.
BSers, right? People trying to pull one over on you. The typical person who we think of, the stereotypical car salesman, is someone who gets you in there and talks fast. Nobody wants to be the car salesman.
I lost him.
What were you saying? I missed it.
You're back.
I'm sorry.
You froze.
So that was a good exercise. I hope you guys liked it. Now that what I'm going to do is we're working our way up into the video. So what I'm going to do with one more exercise, and I know that the holidays are coming up, so if you guys can get on one more Tuesday and then we'll take a break, that would be great. But this next exercise is this is one where people have had the biggest either breakthrough or they've really experienced something that's really helped them. because I want you to do in 60 to 90 seconds. You can take 60 to 90 seconds. I want you to introduce yourself in a third person. In other words, introduce yourself. We can either use, people have used themselves talking about themselves as a guardian angel. Maybe it's somebody with an accent. If you do accents, maybe it's somebody who is your mother. I'm just giving you ideas. But when you start to do this and you think about it and you start to edify yourself and tell your story, okay? So you're introducing yourself, and it could be anything. You could be introducing as if you're on stage, introducing somebody as if you were introducing them at a party, but it's got to be 60 to 90 seconds, but you're somebody else and not yourself. So you never are going to say, I'm this, this, and that. You're going to use somebody else. So what it does is two things. Psychologically, you kind of step outside of your body and say, how would I introduce myself? What are my characteristics? And then the other part is your creativity. How are you going to use that third person? Who is it going to be? Okay? So you have a lot of wiggle room here, and I really want to see you kind of take that next step into evolving and finding out. This kind of goes into your branding statement, okay? Kind of works in that way too. Figure out who we are, what we're good at, and then if someone else were to talk about us, how we would describe that. Cool?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you have an awesome week. Thanks again for joining me. It was really fun. I had a good laugh tonight. You guys were funny.
We did too.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, it was
Take
great.
care.
Great call.
Hey, one more thumbs up. Let me get a screenshot. Ready? Hold on. Oh, we missed Tony. All right. Good night.
Good night.